Thank you very much, Congresswoman Titus. We now proceed to Congressman Andriy Barr of Kentucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the witness, and I think your testimony here today demonstrates that Russian crimes against humanity in Ukraine, it's not just about supporting the Ukrainian resistance and the sovereignty of the Ukraine as a nation and as a people, but it's also about countering a systematic and widespread attack against civilization. That's what NATO assistance of Ukraine is about. It's about certainly supporting the Ukrainian resistance in defense of the freedom and sovereignty of Ukraine, but it's also a defense of humanity and civilization. And I commend your testimony here today. We know that throughout history, occupations are expensive, and that insurgencies are less expensive. Can you talk about whether Russia is prepared for a long conflict, and whether Russia has the ability militarily and economically to support a long-term occupation of a population that will fight them? And what has been the reaction of supposedly ethnic Russian people in the face of these war crimes in Ukraine?
Could you the last part of your question?
Yeah, so
you mean Russian ethnic people who are citizens of Ukraine?
Right. These supposedly Russian ethnic people, are they resisting? And does Russia have the capability of maintaining a long-term occupation of a population that is resistant to their occupation?
You know, when we are talking about the group of people who are potentially the victim of the crime of genocide, we are talking about Ukrainians as a nation, and doesn't matter the ethnicity of Ukrainians we are talking about. So all Ukrainians, once again, doesn't matter who are they by ethnicity, they are struggling for Ukrainians' sovereignty, freedom, and to liberate our country.
As you investigate Russian genocide, we know that the Chinese are supporting dual-use technology and sanctions evasion by Russia. China is also actively engaging in systematic genocide itself against the Uyghur people in Xinjiang. Are we seeing China transport any surveillance technology or methods that they're using against the Uyghurs to Moscow?
I think it's a more relative question for our intelligence and for our military. From cases we have in my office, I have no information of such scale, but if you have such information and if you share with us, of course, we will start our check.
Let me ask you about sanctions. Following the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the United States sanctioned Vladimir Putin and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Following the 2014 invasion of Crimea, sanctions were levied against 11 Russian State Security Council members. In your opinion, has U.S. sanctions effectively cut off individuals who are enabling and supporting these war crimes? And are there individuals that would be effective to sanction who the United States or the West has not yet sanctioned and who you believe are responsible for these war crimes?
I think that it's extremely important to proceed with sanctioning Russians. And first of all, I would say Russian banks, Russian nuclear industry, because you all know that Russians' attacks on Ukrainian nuclear power stations, they raise risks globally, and they use it blackmailing practically the world, and the world should be strong in order to resist this blackmailing and sanctioning more on Russian nuclear industry. And I will add, if you allow, it's important, in cases of deportation of Ukrainian children. We have information about dozens or even hundreds of Russian officials, even of lower level, in the regions who were involved in this policy. And sanctioning them will also play deterring effect for the others, for Russian officials who should think before taking part in these war crimes.
Please share with us the identity of those Russian officials so that we can share with Treasury and recommend sanctioning those individuals who forcibly separated children from their families.
We will do it. Thank you.
I yield. Thank you.
And thank you very